Hi all, welcome to part 6 module 2 computer networks. So we were discussing the data link layer in detail. So we already seen that framing issue. Now we move on to the more design issues of data link layer, particularly that flow control and error control. Together how it is handling. Now so before that I was trying to go with that Tannenbaum textbook with some other information also added additionally. So we will see some of the data link layer protocols, in the sense this utopian simplex protocol is something that is given in the textbooks. That is the reason I just thought of giving you an overview of it, because when you are reading you will come across this. So this is something, a very trivial protocol that is being assumed in the textbooks just for the sake of explanation there. So to introduce you the concept, they were taking the support of this kind of protocol. So most of them are actually theoretical protocols only, not practical, in the sense they were lacking performance. So that is the main thing. So if you are looking at this utopian simplest protocol being explained in that textbook, so it is a protocol that is as simple as it can be, because it does not worry about the possibility of anything going wrong. Say the line itself says that it is just a theoretical model, because the assumption is like that, nothing is going to wrong. Accordingly the protocol is designed, and how it will be tackling means it will be dealing the issues of data link layer in that sense, provided we have a very optimistic assumption like this. So data are transmitted in only one direction, but when you come to more practical protocol so starting from this we will build our concept, and finally we will reach the most practical one. And that time you can see that so they are using the so-called full duplex communications. That is what we are preferring. So traveling information in one direction, that is why it's simplex model, right? So the simplex, half duplex and full duplex that you already know from your data communication class. So here it assumes that seamless communication, that data can travel only in one direction. And another thing is both the transmit and receiving networks are always ready, and but in reality again this is not the case. The processing time can be ignored, but in reality again this is something that matters. Infinite buffer space is available, but again buffer is finite in when it comes to practical scenario. And best of all, the communication channel between the data link layer never damages or loses frames. Of course that is not going to happen at all. So definitely there will be damages, losses, and many other erroneous situation. So just as an introduction protocol, they were taking something like this and how things are working in it. So that is the way they introduced the concept. So this thoroughly they in the textbook itself it says that this is thoroughly an unrealistic protocol, which is nicknamed as utopia, is simply to show the basic structure of on which things are built up. That's all. So the protocol consists of two distinct procedures, a sender and a receiver. So just to give you the communication model, they introduce this protocol. That's all. So the sender runs in the data link layer of the source machine, and similarly the receiver runs at the data link layer of the destination machine. No sequence numbers or acknowledgements numbers, nothing, right? Acknowledgement itself is not there, so sequence number also not there. So the utopia protocol is unrealistic because it does not handle either flow control or error control. Its processing is close to that of the unacknowledged connectionless service. So you can map this into the model. I mean, three service data link layer models we already seen. The one which is providing unacknowledged connectionless service to the network layer, that is a higher layer. The acknowledged connectionless and acknowledged connection oriented service. So out of this, the very first trivial case means that it is somewhat similar to that. But you know, when you implement such a protocol, if you want, if you are if the underlying setup is error free or the chances of error is very less, in that case if you want you can go with a model like this. There is no issue, means provided your network is capable of handling all those things. You don't need, the network don't need the support of a software, particularly the data link layer, to handle the errors. In that particular scenario, maybe an ideal scenario, you can go with this protocol. And it's very cost effective solution, of course, because we are not spending time or effort on this flow control, error control, acknowledgement, nothing is there. So it will run faster, and it's a very simple protocol. So even the unacknowledged connectionless service is something we already seen, that Ethernet protocols, the most popular Ethernet is even using that one only, but with some modification, of course. Why it is so? Why such a model, even though it is not looking good? Why it is used? In the sense it's a cost effective solution, and it is faster in the sense we don't have any other overhead. So if your network is capable of providing all those things by itself, then why not? There is no problem with using a very simpler protocol like this. Okay, so that is the thing. And so it's particularly for, it's somewhat similar to the unacknowledged connection less service that relies on the higher layers to solve the problem. So either the network itself is capable, or you can give the task of solving this error control, flow control, all those related issues. You can assign the higher layer, that is network layer, you please handle, I am not going to handle. So the data link layer is something very thinner in this case, just a minimum functionality it will be doing like that. Also, if you want, you can go for a decision, but normally it is not the case, because we want to divide our jobs equally. We don't want to assign everything into a single layer. We just so that could be the way a right design should be. Yeah. So though an unacknowledged connection less service would be some would do some error detection. So minimum thing it can do, and most of the thing we can assign to the higher layer. So that about this model, just a theoretical model that is being. So with this model, the concept of data link layer protocol started, or the more design issues they are discussing. So then they move on to another protocols, the simplex stop and wait protocol. So this is something you have to give more attention. The stop and wait protocol is a very smart protocol, and with this you will understand how this flow control problem is tackled, and it's going to give you a basic understanding about it. And here again, the first category they were discussing is for an error-free channel, and then the same stop and wait protocol is being discussed for an erroneous, I mean a noisy channel also. So when it, but you know, more practical thing is of course noisy channel, the error-free channel, again a theoretical assumption only, but practically it's almost not possible to achieve unless some extraordinary situation. Yeah, that is the case. So just to introduce the concept, initially we assume the underlying channel to be error free, so, and how this stop and wait protocol works. But when the when we add this noise, and when we assume a more realistic environment, and definitely it will face many issues, and that issues we will see, and how these things can be handled. And that solution is what is the next step protocol, that is the simplex stop and wait protocol for a noisy channel. So that is the next one. After some time we will move on to that. So as per this protocol, the communication channel is still assumed to be error free. However, and the data traffic is still simplex here, but again we need a full duplex in a more realistic one. Here it will tackle the problem of preventing the sender from flooding the receiver with the frames faster than the later is able to process them. So the flow control issue, right? If there is no flow control, what will happen? There is a chance that the sender will keep on sending without means understanding the speed of the receiver. It will keep sending, or it will simply flood the receiver with more information than it can handle. So such a situation should not be there. So how we will prevent that? So that is by flow control mechanism. So we are going to introduce flow control mechanism to this model. So that is how this model is different from the utopian simplex model that we already seen. So what is the very trivial solution? The one solution, of course the trivial solution, is to build the receiver to be powerful enough to process continuous stream of back-to-back frames by having sufficient buffering and processing ability. So what you can do simply is you can make your receiver more powerful by providing it some extra buffer, in the sense if the sender is sending information too fast, the receiver can keep those information in the buffer, and slowly from the buffer it can read one by one. So in the first look it feels it's giving us a feel like yeah, the issue is somewhat solved. So if it is very fast, we will keep everything in the buffer, maybe some background process will be running for that, and from the buffer slowly the actual receiver process will take the data. And you can add some more processing abilities also, so that the receiver can somewhat go with the sender. So but the problem is solved completely? No, because why? you can imagine something that we already seen, say from your mobile phone you are trying to have a communication with some very strong web server, whatever it is. So you know you can imagine the speed of very powerful web server, and what about your mobile phone. So definitely, even though you are adding more buffering and processing ability, you can't compete with the power of the server. So what will happen? The buffer, of course we have some limit for it, the memory. We can't assume infinite buffer like what we done in the Utopian protocol previously. Practically it is finite buffer only. So even though you are adding say 1 GB 2 GB, but you have some limitation, right? Because you know the normal RAM itself, you can't go beyond it, right? So we have some limit. After some time you will stop adding buffering, and what will happen if the buffer itself overflows? So the sender is so fast that it keep on sending the data, and you are trying to store in the buffer, and after some time you can't even keep them in the buffer. The sender is that much powerful. So definitely such scenarios are often you can see in our current networking scenario. So definitely this is not going to work for long time, and processing ability also you can't improve beyond some limit. So that is the thing. So we need some different solution for this. So what you can do, a more general solution to this problem is to have the receiver provide feedback to the sender. Again, I think this I just given you an overview of all those things in the first module itself. So hope you remember, or right now you can recollect all those things. Now we are moving in a more systematic way towards the topic. Yeah. So you can provide some feedback back to the sender. So how the receiver simply, suppose the receiver is using buffer, when it is almost over or it started overflowing, at least that point the receiver can inform that back to the sender, or at some early stage itself it can inform the sender like, I'm not able to handle the data speed, you please reduce it. So accordingly the sender can reduce. So if there is no backward communication, sender is not knowing what is the situation of the receiver, and it will keep on flooding it with the data. So how you will be providing this feedback? That is by a mechanism called acknowledgement. The receiver is supposed to send some acknowledgement message back to the sender, and the sender is supposed to react by looking at the acknowledgement. So in that way the protocol should come up. So after having passed a packet to its network layer, the receiver, receiver, whenever it is getting some information, it can pass that to the network layer, right? Then after it will send a little dummy frame, so that is our acknowledgement frame, back to the sender, which in effect gives the sender permission to transfer the next frame. So whenever the sender is getting the acknowledgement, sender can transfer the next frame. Now whenever the receiver receives that next frame, it will process it and it will be giving to the higher layer. After that it will send the acknowledgement. Now the sender is supposed to wait till the acknowledgement is coming. So that kind of a protocol should work nicely. Till that acknowledgement is coming from the sender, from the receiver, the sender is supposed to wait. So that is why it is called a stop and wait. After sending the current frame, the sender is supposed to stop transmission, and it has to wait for the acknowledgement from the receiver. Stop, wait, and then proceed. So like that the protocol is given that name. So protocol in which the sender sends one frame and then waits for an acknowledgement before proceeding to the next frame is called stop and wait protocol. So this protocol entails a strict alternation of flow. The first sender sends a frame, then the receiver sends the acknowledgement, again the sender sends another frame, then the receiver sends another acknowledgement, and so on. So there you can see a kind of strict alternation between the sender and receiver, sending the frame, acknowledgement, again sending the frame, acknowledgement. So it should happen in that order itself. So in that way you have to build the software, or the data link layer part of the software at least. So this is how the simple stop and wait protocol is working. But see, we didn't handle the issue of error, because in case of error there might be different scenario, like the sender send the information but it is not reached the receiver. If it is reaching the receiver, then on the receiver can send back the acknowledgement, right? So what will happen if the acknowledgement itself is lost? So like that many scenario will occur when you assume the underlying channel to be noisy, but it is not assumption, that is a practical case. So now we have to handle all those situations and how it is to be done, that we will see in the next video. So before winding up, let's see, this is what I was trying to say in the previous slide. The sender and receiver is communicating like this: send a frame of data, then acknowledgement, data acknowledgement. So flow control in the sense, so once the receiver gets the data, process it, hand over to the higher layer, then generate the after consumption, completely consumption in the sense processing and hand over to the higher layer, it will be generating the acknowledgement. So this is how the flow control is achieved. Not only that, at the sender side also it has to wait till the acknowledgement is coming back. So the sender, the rule 1 is says send one packet at a time. Rule 2 says send next packet only after receiving acknowledgement for the previous one. So sender is supposed to obey these two rules. Now what about the receiver? The rule is like, only one rule. Send acknowledgement after receiving and consuming the data packet. So together it is written: once you receive it, process it, hand over to the higher level, that is consume it completely, then provide acknowledgement properly back to the sender. So that about the protocol, but here there is no error cases. And now we will see one by one how the situations like the data lost on the way or acknowledgement lost on the way, those things were handled by the stop and wait protocol, and that makes it more robust to run on a practical scenario. So that about it. Thank you.